morning, everyone. We're welcoming you to come to the Wheels Museum today, where we are. We're going to have a dance party today, and we're very, very busy. We have beautiful new exhibits. We got a 1915 very large photograph of 2nd Street with the automobiles of that time. We have a new exhibit of a G-scale train that is going up in our ceiling, high and beautiful. A lot of fun. A lot of visitors are here today. There's a birthday party. And I'm really thrilled because we have Ronn Perea, who's been my friend longer than we want anybody to know.
What a great way of being introduced with beautiful music.
Beautiful music and how old we are.
And hey, that's a topic we don't
talk about that. He's been a long time volunteer. He's written many novels and books about history, about New Mexico. He's able to talk about the Alvarado Hotel in great detail, and he's given us many presentations. And we're so excited that he's here with us today, and we're looking forward to his presentation on April 13th, which is of a very serious nature. It is the 82nd anniversary of the horrific Baton Death March, and he is going to talk on that day about its relationship to New Mexico. So we
and that's why, is that why I'm here today?
That's why you're here today. So
okay.
Please go ahead and tell us about that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, dames et hôtels, señores, señorinas, ladies and gentlemen, it started really on the last Thursday of August 1941, when the New Mexico National Guard 200th, the Santa Fe Division, were celebrating their they were looking forward to the 6-month escape in the far Southeast Asia of a country called the Philippines. And to celebrate their bon voyage, they decided to become the minions, dancing at the feet of Zozobra. And they lit up their torches, ready to do their job. They were celebrating, they were going on a 6-month excursion. The following Sunday, they were to depart. So they met their Albuquerque contingent and all the entire northern New Mexico contingent at the Alvarado Hotel train station. And there they took off south to rendezvous with the New Mexico 515th down in Las Cruces. They trained all the way westward and finally shipped out at San Diego. They were happy. They said, hey, to the landing green, we'll be back soon, 6 months from now. And so they ended up going to the Philippines. No sooner do they arrive in the Philippines, they get designated as the New Mexico Coast Guard Artillery. Now here were guys that were more used to shooting foxholes in the desert or foxes running in the mountains than shooting blanks into the Manila Bay. But so they are, the New Mexico Coast Guard Artillery. And they were there training. That was most of the time learning their guns to shoot and train wherever they were learning. And occasionally they would break away for some fun. And the fun then was across the bay in Corregidor. And they would always comment that it was the greenest grass they've ever seen when they would look up apparently the baseball field was the place to hang out. Unless they wanted to go drinking in the nightclubs with all the girls. And that was a favorite for these, after all, Marines, Air Corps, sailors. Where do you think they're going to hang out? So they all converged. Of course, they had their exercise with a lot of fights between the two, but that was the nature of the beast. And so they trained, and that's where they had their fun, though, across the bay. And back across the other side, the New Mexico National Guard was always at their guns. And then November went by, October went by. Bottom line is, Then came December 7th. And but they knew what was coming. They knew the 6-month furlough was no longer, it was going to be extended. They didn't know when they were going to go home because they knew what happened the morning of December 7th. Because they started getting attacked themselves that night. First thing that went within days was the U.S. Air Corps base. It got demolished and wiped out in the first couple of days. Located in Luzon in northern Philippines. And from that day on it was fighting man to man. And they were, the American contingent was overwhelmed. The Japanese sent in 100,000 and there was only like 72,000 of ours, so we got overwhelmed. But what really hurt was, as they fought on into December, January, February, March, while the Japanese were continuing being resupplied, the Americans and the Filipinos were using up their food and ammunition very quickly. By February, they were down to half rations. By March, they half rationed again. By April, it was gone. And back in the end of December, President FDR saw the writing on the wall. Because after all, they were not going to be able to resupply. Why? The supplies were at the bottom of Pearl Harbor. And there was no way that the Philippines were going to be resupplied. And thereby ordered General Douglas MacArthur to vacate as quickly as possible down to Australia. He didn't want to lose his top Southeastern Command General. And thereby, when he stepped onto his PT boat, came his famous comment, "I shall return." Now, who hasn't heard that? To this very day. And so then came April 9th. General Mark Davies was, well, what choice did he have? Our American troops had not eaten in weeks. There was disease going rampant. They didn't have one more bullet to fire. So he surrendered his 70,000 troops. 70,000. When's the last time, in your knowledge of American history, have 70,000 prisoners of war surrendered in one fell swoop? Do you know of any?
No.
Not since the Revolutionary War to current, and all the wars since. No one, 70,000 in one fell swoop. Well, they were all gathered. The Japanese rounded them all up and put them on in the Marcellus Air Force Base in southern Philippines. And that's where they were concentrated. What would happen next was as scary as all get out. There were only 50,000 by that time reduced soldiers of the Japanese. And so they decided to do something. They surrounded all the American troops on the airfield with their trucks before the order was given to snap open the tarps to reveal machine guns and their intent. Something majestic had to happen, because all of a sudden the ground started shaking, men started screaming, crevices started opening up down the middle of the airfield, palm trees started crashing, birds started filling the skies. The Japanese were just as scared as the Americans. And as such, half of the machine guns, if you want to, in the trucks, were in crevices in the airfield. So that's when they decided to march them. And by that time, there was a holding fort 55 miles north of that Marcellus airfield that they just chose to march these troops towards. The problem was, by that time, the Japanese troops were wound down to just 5,000. But yet, they had to control 70,000. When's the last time you guys, if you were 5,000, had to control 70,000? And so that is how come, just to keep them weak, they chose to not let them have food nor water. And so for the next 6 days was born the Bataan Death March. If you guys want to hear more about what happened, remember, April 13th, 11 o'clock, right here at the museum. It's free, and you're going to get a good tour of the museum afterwards. Come and learn some New Mexico history, especially if you are a New Mexican. Thank you, Leba.
Oh, it was wonderful. No one knows more about this subject than you do, and it's so gripping and so important. I cannot thank you enough. We would like to honor any people who have family who were part of that horrific time. So please come to the event and be with us and celebrate their memory.
And if you can contact us before, we'd like to arrange special seating for you.
Yes, please RSVP at 505-243-6269, and we'll all be together on this very, very meaningful, sad, but special time.
And if you don't know anything about it, don't you think it's about time you did?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, you are so wonderful to educate and to.
Thank you again for having me,
I'm
Leba.
so happy to have you with us all the time, and I hope this goes on for another 50 years.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, we're very, very grateful to you.
Hey, you know, if you know me, I wanted to throw in a wisecrack there, but I'm not going to.
If you want to, go ahead.
All I was going to say is, thank you. Thank you.
As I mentioned, we have a headphone dance party today at Wheels from 12 to 2. If you want to come today. But Ron, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about another very special dance that took place at the Alvarado Hotel.
Shall we talk about a dance at the Alvarado Hotel?
Please.
Now, the ballroom at the Alvarado Hotel held 200 people. It was overflowing the night before their departure because they wanted to give our troops a big dance ball. And so, boy, was there, of all military, because there was Air Corps here, you know. Mm-hmm. And the airfield here was a training field for Air Force. Air Corps, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't the Air Force yet. It was United States Air Corps. And what's now Kirtland Air Force Base was a training field for bombers, navigators, pilots. And you know who the most famous pilot was?
I was going to ask you that. Who is important? Who?
There was a movie star by the name of Jimmy Stewart.
Was here in Albuquerque.
He got trained right here. And it was a training field for bombers.
Yes, yes.
And you know, one of their, towards the end of the war, do you know who was one of the bombers in training here?
No.
You ever heard of that bomber, Enola Gay?
Oh, yes, of course.
They were training here. And you know who the Enola Gay used as a training field to train over Hiroshima? You know what field they used?
What?
Oh, the whole west side. Taylor Ranch, golf course, all that up there, that was their training ground to bomb Hiroshima.
I don't think everybody realizes how important that was, how important the railroad was during World War II. We were really a center for stopping the war.
That's a fact.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, that's a fact you didn't know, did you?
We have lots of good news at Wheels, and one of the most exciting things that's happened lately is we have been very fortunate to meet with one of the top professors at UNM Architecture Department who is interested in working with us on the Babbitt and Welding Shop. There's a building just to our east, which is 5,000 square feet, and we are hoping to make it into the Mexico Model Railroad Center. And he's interested in working with his team. He already has done the planning and work for the firehouse here on site, and he's interested in that. Along with that, we're working with CNM. We met with Dr. Richard Watson this week with his class, and they're going to do a drone project and planning for us for that building. So we're making great progress with both of the universities here, and very, very excited and thrilled to be working with them in the hopes of helping more of the buildings here on the property. This will be another big step for us. We are so successful and busy at Wheels that we're bursting at the seams and we're turning down exhibits all the time. So we are hoping to get additional space. And if anyone is interested in that project of the New Mexico Model Railroad Center, I hope they'll call us and talk to us about it. Maybe they have model railroads they want to work with us on that, or funding or sponsorship. So we're working on that. That's our new one. So thank you all for listening to this. We do birthday parties here. We do musical events. We've got many things planned, many programs planned. So stick with us. If you'd like to be on our mailing list, we'd love for you to call us at 505-243-6269, and we'll put you on our mailing list and you won't miss out. Also, September 21st, we're going to take a trip to Kansas City, Kansas, which is a fundraising trip on Amtrak. If you'd like to come on that trip, we're selling that trip now, so please let us know. It's a lot of fun and very educational. Ron, I want to thank you again. It's been a wonderful podcast, not only for what you're doing with the Baton Death March subject, but you're here every Saturday and you entertain people and you educate people about the Alvarado Hotel. We have a wonderful Alvarado exhibit, and you are there and you're talking to people, and I see you laughing and talking and explaining, and you know many, many secrets and many facts that nobody else knows. So if you're interested in the Fred Harvey history and the Alvarado Hotel and many, many things about the rail history here, this is your guy. So
Well,
it's thrilled to have you here.
Can I insert a little cutie joke?
Sure.
Listen, I give tours with families and all that good stuff, and I tell the story of what happened in 1923, and I describe some Hollywoodites that came into, but 10-year-old kids would come up to the table, and I tell them who came, and they know who. I say, hey, he wore a bowler, he had a little mustache, and he had a cane. Oh, Charlie Chaplin came? 10-year-old kid. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a wonderful period in our history, and you were recapturing it. So very, very thankful to you.
Come on down.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Wasn't it fun?
Super fun. I love it.
Hey,
You better get to work. There's a lot of people waiting for you over there.
can you hear them already?
I can hear a lot of visitors waiting for you to get to work over there. Yes. Thank you, Ron.
Adios.
Adios.